Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the America Guns and Freedom podcast with your host, me, the Yankee Marshal. Now, usually this is just a question show. You get to ask me whatever you want, suggest whatever topic you want. We'll do that in a few minutes, but first we're joined by a special guest here. It's David Vallejo. He has a lawsuit against Bonta in the state of California, so I guess it's Vallejo versus Bonta. And he's here today to talk to us about it, how they're challenging the CCW scheme in California. So I'm going to turn the floor over to you and tell us whatever you think you need to tell us.
Hey there, I am David Vellehos, the plaintiff in Vallejos versus Rob Bonta and Chad Bianco, which is challenging the unconstitutional CCW scheme in California. I applied in 2022, right after Bruin, and then it took them over a year to deny me based on what they said psychological concerns. And I reapplied in 2024 after SB2, which gave me an avenue to appeal the denial. So after SB2, I applied January 1st, 2024, which is when the law took effect. I applied then, that day. And in February, they withdrew my application to try to deny my avenue of appeal. But I filed the appeal anyway, and they allowed it to go through, but the judge still upheld the denial based on arbitrary rules and subjective standards because I check all the boxes. I pass background checks, I buy weapons, I have an O3 FFL, and I have an Arizona CCW, so I am not prohibited or disqualified. And I even went into the appeal for my CCW denial with a letter from Rob Bonta's DOJ stating that I was approved for the CCW and I was not disqualified or prohibited.
So how are they justifying prohibiting you then?
Well, it's basically the same attitude that Rob Bonta has toward the ammo background check, which is we'll just keep doing it until they tell us to stop. And I pretty much am the one that told them to stop with the CCW scheme, which is being very subjective and violating people's rights on arbitrary rules and subjective standards. So that drove me to file a lawsuit, which is the Vellehos v. Rob Bonta and Chad Bianco, with no help from Second Amendment organizations, no help from an attorney when I first started. But then Second Amendment attorney Cam Atkinson reached out to me and told me he wanted to help me out with my case and started a legal fund. And now he's going to start making appearances for me, it looks like. And he just, I guess, officially filed the paperwork today. And it's already in the Pacers thing. Oh, actually, it'll probably be updated tomorrow in the Pacers network. But he told me that he did it today. So he'll be start making appearances. And hopefully one day you'll be able to speak to him and he'll be a guest and you guys can speak together and he'll give you more in-depth stuff of what the legal things are going to happen here. But I started this off as a pro se litigant because nobody wanted to help me, and I thought if I build it, they will come. And I guess I built it, and they came. So,
so for people who don't live in California, tell them kind of what it is you're actually fighting against, what it is they do, like how they behave, etc. Because a lot of people have no idea, how ridiculous it is in California.
Yeah, you got to pay an application fee, which is anywhere between $150 to $300 plus, and that's just like on the low end. Then you have to look for training when you get passed on to the next step, and that's another $300 plus. Then you got to pay for fingerprinting. Then you have to pay for psychological evaluation if they decide to choose you for a psychological evaluation, which another $200 to $300, and plus another 80-mile round trip, which it was for me to drive from San Bernardino from Corona. So, yeah, it's, extra time out of your day. It's extra money out of your pocket. And it's just another burdensome step that you need to take to exercise an inalienable right, which is assured by the Constitution.
Yeah, which is they're very good at doing that. They're saying, well, we're not denying you your right. You just got to jump through all these hoops, which it is a denial of rights, especially to certain groups of people. People they want to declare unfit for one reason or another, or people who can't afford to jump through all the hoops or don't have the time to jump through all the hoops. I'd be willing to say, given the state of California and how many people live there, I could say probably a third of the people in the state would not be able to jump through the hoops and pay for the fees and all that other stuff because not everyone in California is wealthy. So these kind of laws, what they really do is they cut out the middle class and the poor from the system. So if you're not upper middle class or rich, you don't have a chance at getting a carry permit. And even if you are upper middle class or whatever, and you can actually afford it, well, then they still leave themselves avenues to deny you for no reason, basically whatsoever, even after you've passed all the tests. So they leave some arbitrary crap in there. Like you said, what was the reason you were denied?
First, they said it was psychological concerns and something about my background, which is like a false accusation that happened. So they were basing it on false accusations, and they said a psychological concern, but they couldn't determine, like they couldn't specify what it was. And then when I brought it up in the appeal, when I filed the BOF 1031 in California by myself, they never brought up the psychological concern. They were just focused on the false accusations. And when I asked them about, hey, give me my results for the psychological evaluation, nobody could give it to me. The sheriff's department couldn't give it to me. The facility where I went to couldn't give it to me. And all of a sudden, it was just no longer an issue. So they were basing it on false accusations that were not even. They said prosecutor refusal on the paperwork, and I can even forward you the paperwork where they were trying to file to use against me, which is, like I said, false accusations that never even came with a conviction.
So you never got convicted of anything, so you weren't disqualified. Because being
No, no,
charged
it
with a
wasn't.
crime is not the same as committing a crime. You have to be convicted of a
Yes,
crime.
yes, and also the when I went and filed the 1031, the BOF 1031, which is the appeal for the CCW denial in California, I it's just a process that determines if you check all the boxes. Are you prohibited? No. Are you disqualified? No. Do you have any limitations? No. Or can you buy ammo? Yes. So it's just a process that makes you check all the boxes. I checked all the boxes, but still based, like I said, on arbitrary rules and subjective standards going against the Bruin Supreme Court ruling. They denied me on that. So, I'm just, that's what made me drive. That's what gave me the motivation and the drive to be like, hey, I not only do I deserve it, I am born with this right. So it's being taken away from me. And I just want to be a law abiding citizen. I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to compromise my livelihood because I want to exercise an inalienable right asserted by the Constitution.
And when they said, when you said they chose you for secondary, psychological evaluation, when they decide to do this, even though you've cleared every hurdle to be a legal gun owner, and they decide, well, we're going to send you to get evaluated, who do you go to? Is it a licensed doctor? Is it a licensed therapist? Or is it like, someone that actually has a master's degree in psychology? Or is it a state caseworker? Or who gives the actual evaluation?
Well, I guess it's a private owned facility. It's a private company, same thing like the Permidium private system that processes the application. It's a private or driven profit scheme that is just trying to derive as much revenue out of the citizens as they can. So, like I said, you got to pay $200 for an application fee, and then they run you over to the psychological evaluation, another 250, and like I said, that was like an 80-mile round trip for me, and it's just another burdensome step that they add to it. But it is a private company, so I don't know who has holdings in it or who is making profit on these private companies that are working with these issuing agencies, because it's a big old cash cow and it's a big money making scheme.
My concern is, how long did that evaluation take when you went to do it?
I'm sorry?
How long did it take? How much time did you spend with and I'm going to put therapist in quotations because I'm doubting they're using licensed psychologists. So,
no, that was the funny part about it.
These types of schemes usually use like social workers and caseworkers and stuff like that. They usually don't use actual doctors or psychologists. So how long did you actually spend in that evaluation?
And you're exactly right. They aren't like anyone licensed. They're just some guy who he told me he used to be a sheriff's deputy at Riverside, so he had like a biased opinion. And he basically was a social worker. And it took me about 4 hours, maybe more, about 5 hours, because my appointment was for the morning, but they told me, oh, the doctor that was going to see you, or the person that was going to see you can't make it, so we had to call someone else. So that made me like wonder like what the heck's going on. So I said, oh, you know what? I'll come back then. Because my appointment was let's say for 9 a.m. I can't remember exactly what time it was. Let's say my appointment was 9 a.m. They told me to come back at like 2 p.m. to see this other person. So I just went. I washed my car and I did other things and then just kept myself busy in the area. Then went back and returned. And then, like I said, it wasn't even somebody who was like licensed. It was a former cop or somebody that worked with Riverside County Sheriff's Department. So he had a very biased opinion and he was working for them. So you can't win either way with the way the scheme is set up.
Yeah, and how long, once you were actually talking to the guy, the sheriff's ex-deputy, once you were in a room with him, how long did you spend in a room with him?
About 15 minutes. And it took
Okay,
longer to
that's
fill out that little bubble thing. You got to fill out this form that says, do you
well,
masturbate in public? Do you do?
that right there shows it's a scam and it's total bullshit. There ain't no one going to be able to
Yeah,
give anybody a psychological evaluation in 15 days, hardly, much less to do a good one, much less 15 minutes. They would at least
exactly.
spend hours with you and testing different, how you respond to stimuli, how you answer certain questions, how you behave under certain circumstances. They're not going to do that in 15 minutes. And they're not going to do that with a written test or anything like that. So yeah, this is just sounds like a scam, like a private company that the state can pay to deny you your right to own a firearm. Like it's
Yes,
not
you
got
got
anything
it.
to do with proving you're safe. It's got to do with, hey, we can't legally deny you, but we're going to send you to this private company that we pay to deny you.
Yep, exactly. You got it right there, right on nail. I mean, I'm glad this is getting exposed and somebody realizes it because I try to reach out to everybody and no one wanted to listen to my story. Nobody wanted to help me out. And the only people that really helped me out was John Crump and Cape Gunworks and you. And I really appreciate you guys for opening up your platform and letting me speak and giving me the platform to get the word out because I think the more attention and the more awareness that is brought to this case, the better it'll be, and the more we could add to the fund that Attorney Atkinson's trying to build for this whole constitutional carries system that he's trying to establish. So I emailed you the link that I sent you earlier. If you decide to share it, that's up to you. But
There isn't. Let me see
um,
if I can find it.
it was a gift send go that I sent you through an email, and you can share it now or next time you stream or whatever. But if you decide to get the word out, that'll help tremendously for the people of California and also anyone that wants to visit California because it's going to open up a permanent carry system. Because Attorney Atkinson said the way I established that lawsuit and the way I wrote it, I mean, the way it appears seems to be amateur, but I guess the way I established it and the way I wrote the complaint and the preliminary injunction, he said it was actually written very well and it is established for a very good case to strike down this unconstitutional CCW scheme.
Well, yeah, because as a former psychologist myself, I hate when people misuse the mental health system because they continue to just try to use the appearance of a mental health system to deny people rights, to deny people freedoms, deny people things, maintaining the stigma on any type of mental health care. Because if they make it look like, well, if you get singled out to go for mental health care, you're definitely losing your rights because people who have either had a history of counseling or anything like that, well, they're definitely losing their rights. And I don't like this at all for that very reason. Why will this not? Hold on, my keyboard's not working again. I don't know why it keeps quitting on me. Let's see if I can get this to paste. Let me try it again. Copy, paste. There we go. I think that went through. All right, there's the link, everybody, in case you're interested. But yeah, I wasn't even aware they were using a private company with so-called therapists. How are they? I don't know how they're doing a legal mental health evaluation with an ex-deputy from a sheriff's department, because I'm sure they're not in any way properly trained to be putting something on someone's record, much less denying someone a constitutional right. You'd think somebody would have to be qualified. And even then, when someone actually is a danger, when someone actually does have psychological issues, there are 1,000 hoops you have to go through to get it to where they can't drive a car, or where they can't do this, or they can't do that, or they can't, run their own affairs. I mean, it is horrible. And the state fights you every inch of the way and takes the side of the person who is disabled or, handicapped, and makes it very hard to do the right thing. Like people that are abusing their children, and these people have mental health issues, and you're trying to get the children to a safe location. State fights you. But for some reason, they set up these schemes to where they can immediately remove your constitutional rights from a person if they're wanting to buy a gun. It's like that's the bad thing there. Oh, this person wants to buy a gun, so we're going to deny them their rights. Whereas if it was you're just severely disabled and we're trying to prevent you from hurting other people, they fight us every inch of the way. So I hate when the state does that because they're making a mockery out of mental health. They're demonizing mental health because they're using it as a way to deny people rights. So yeah, I hate stuff like this. It bothers me more than most anything else. And also the whole, well, you got accused of something once. Well, who hasn't been accused of something once? If you aren't convicted, that means you didn't do it, most likely. So if someone can come and prove you did something, that's one thing. And even then, if it was something that you're not in jail for, if it wasn't bad enough to put you in jail, well, then why is it bad enough to remove your constitutional rights?
Exactly.
So I don't follow from the very beginning of the state of California. And then they got Governor Newsom trying to act like I'm pro-gun. I just want reasonable. Is it reasonable to have a private company on retainer that you can just pay to say this guy can't have his rights? That's not reasonable to me. So people who try to play the whole, oh, Newsom is reasonable. No, he's not. He sits over a state that denies people their right to keep and bear arms, denies people their right to free speech. They deny stuff all the time. And they got these schemes that they use to do it. And
they're making a lot of money on it too. They're profiting off it like massively, and so our rights are being sold at a high price.
Yeah, and I bet you that company that is denying people based on their psychological evaluations are probably owned by one of Newsom's biggest donators, and they're probably making a fortune off of it.
Exactly, they have holdings in it, or they have holdings or investments in the company, and that's exactly what's going on. Is they're making a lot of money on this system. So my lawsuit's going to bring that all down. It's a multi-billion-dollar system that's going to be brought down, and a lot of shareholders are going to be mad at me, and a lot of instructors are going to be mad at me because there's not going to be required anymore. But it is what it is. I'm sorry, but not sorry. Our rights aren't for sale.
Instructors are one of our worst enemies when it comes to actual good gun laws, because every time in like the state of Washington and Oregon, every time they bring up a scheme to require training, those guys are all behind it. They love it. They don't fight it. The NRA doesn't fight it, nothing, because, they want to keep their instructors happy. Instructors are one of our worst. These tacti-tard instructors are one of our worst enemies when it comes to maintaining our freedoms. Not only do they give people bad advice on guns, but they love infringements like training requirements. In fact, they go around spouting that if you haven't taken my class for 20 hours, you're not qualified to handle a gun. So people inside the gun community promoting that anti-gun agenda. And I've never liked that. That's why I have a real distaste for tactical trainers. When I was a kid, there were none. If you didn't go to the military or law enforcement, you didn't get tactical training. And everybody did just fine with their firearms. But nowadays, you got a bunch of people who want to pretend like nobody knew how to shoot a gun until 10 years ago when I figured it out. And if you don't come take my class, you ain't figured it out either. And you shouldn't be allowed to have a gun. So that's one of the reasons I don't like instructors. And I definitely don't like the state misusing the mental health system to try to deny people constitutional rights. And I'll take you one even further. I bet you they get more than your $250. I bet you whoever owns this company that does these evaluations, I bet they get your $250. Then they get a matching fund from the state that goes back into the pockets of the politicians' big donors, but it comes out of the taxpayers' pockets. So it's another way for the big donors to get money back from the state. So
exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of ways for them to wash their money and launder it, and to they can't just pull money out of the fund. They have to make it seem like it's going somewhere, and that's exactly where all this circulation ends up. Because I'm telling you, it's like a money-making laundering scheme, and there's a lot of billions of dollars within just the state of California alone being transferred just along
one of the biggest economies in the world.
Exactly, just to ask permission for something that you're born with. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for coming on, letting us know. Is there anything else you want to tell us right now before you go?
Just support attorney Cam Atkinson. He's the only one who stepped up and decided to, take up my case and help me out because I was doing it pro se. I filed it pro se, and I did the motion of preliminary injunction pro se. Then after that, I appealed it because they denied my preliminary injunction. So hopefully now Cam Atkinson will be able to step in and give me a little bit of hand there. But thank you so much for giving me a platform and giving me a space to speak about it. Thank you, sir.
I wonder if he and I are related. We got the same last name, and I got relatives in California.
Exactly. Yeah, I was like Atkinson.
Yeah,
Okay.
but thanks for coming on, and make sure you keep us updated. Come back again if you got something new to say. Let me know, and I'll let you on in and keep us in the loop.
For sure. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
All right, thanks. Thanks for having me on. Thank you to everyone for watching and putting up with my ugly face. He was kind of ugly, wasn't he? I wasn't going to say anything because I thought it'd be rude, but he was kind of ugly. Why can't we have attractive people? It's easier to get behind attractive people. I don't mean that in the way you're thinking. I just mean it's easier to support them when they're attractive.